Hi, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. I'm always so glad when people are kind enough to return. And on this episode, I have sort of a buy one, get one deal. I have two returning guests who've been on the show separately, and that is, Jordan Alsaqa and Skylar Patridge. Thank you both for jumping in, joining, and talking with me for a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Absolutely. I did not know that you two were connected creatively. Had not connected those dots, but I know you have a new book that is currently, I believe it's in Kickstarter campaign. Our Sins Are Scarlet. Is that right?
Yep,
Yeah.
we're
And
moving into our last week, actually.
yeah. And I think nobody knew for the longest time because we had to wait forever to actually announce the book officially. I think we teased it a lot, but
Yeah,
Yeah. Journey to
yeah.
getting the publication shared and all of that. I'm sure all books have a journey story.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, curious, of course, about how your collaboration has come to be and what the process has been like for the two of you working on this.
Um,
You want to start off, Jordan?
sure. Yeah. As far as the collaboration, it's really been an evolving thing just because we've been working on it for so long. We first talked it's so long, 6 years ago, and then really started working on it a year after that. And what started as I think very much, I guess what we would call traditional comics collaboration of coming up with a story and then maybe discussing like it evolved naturally to where we started co-writing it because we both had so many story ideas and we both
Hmm.
became so attached to what it was becoming because I think it wouldn't have developed into the book it is with any other if I'd been talking about it with any other artist, just because we both had very specific interests of what we wanted to explore and how it became a romance and how the characters just came to life. And so it's really just been deeply collaborative in that sense of like we come up with a story, like we do long meetings and we talk it out, and then I do the scripting, but then we go through the script page by page. So it's a very intimate collaboration on the story side.
Yeah, it's definitely been, I think, the only one of its kind, really, for me, this kind of collaboration. And I've been very grateful to Jordan for wanting my input and wanting me to help co-write. And yeah, I feel like it's been a blessing for me personally. I feel like Jordan might agree with that. Um, but yeah, it's been intimately is I think a good way of explaining it, just because we have spent so much time going back and forth, and a lot of times like ideas have spun out of one of our long, like sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning, Jordan will send me, what if this happens, and it'll be a nice long paragraph, which I love to get. And then I'll be like, yeah, and so it's a lot of kind of us building off of one another, and then we maybe don't even ever touch on the original idea, or we touch on some facet of it, but it blooms into something else. And that's kind of, I feel like, how this story has happened, where it's just been one of us has a cool idea and we send it to the other, and then the other one builds on that, and then maybe that'll get scrapped, but something survives, and then we wind up with these two interesting characters who are really vastly different from, I think, where they started out. And hopefully people are as excited about them as we are.
Yeah, they are very well considered at
Yep.
this point. But also, to play on that, I think yes and is really the best way to describe it because I'd say we're very in sync in terms of what we wanted to do with the story. Like we're always, I think, very open to hearing possibilities, and we always talk it through. And yeah, a lot of times they just go nowhere, but we've considered a lot, and I think 99% of the time we're pretty on the same page about what we want to do once we have talked it through. And even with the little bit of time where we've disagreed, it's been very respectful and very easy to figure out a way forward that we're both happy with. So it's been a great process.
Yeah, I feel like the compromise of creativity has been very, very good for this.
Awesome, awesome. I know sometimes collaborators don't really get in touch that much. You sort of run the relay race from one stage of creativity to the other, but it sounds like this was more of an interweaving between the two of you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think like for me especially as a writer, I enjoy that more. I'm not I've said this before, and part of it might be a certain level of self-doubt in my own skill. But what I like about the collaboration of comics is getting other inputs
Mm.
and getting the chance to develop something that I couldn't have made on my own. And I've done projects that have turned out excellently where the artist is very much just I'm going to work off the script and do still have a lot of creativity at that level, right? Because artists are always going to interpret stuff their own
Hmm.
way, and that is always great. It's what I love about that. But anytime that an artist wants to get more involved and have that stake in this, I'm happy to let it happen because I just think it's better for the story and it helps set the work apart from anything else I've done because again, nothing I've done is on my own. It's always collaborating with somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think when you get going at it the way that, or like, coming at this story the way that we have, I think, I mean, I'm always invested in the projects I work on, and some more than others, but I think this really, the way that we've come at it has really solidified that investment for both Jordan and I, because we have so much of a hand, both of us, in how these characters have developed and what their motivations are. And so I think both of us feel very firmly rooted in just kind of the bones of the story. So.
Yeah, yeah, and you both were talking about connecting to elements of the story, so I'm curious about how that came together, what the particular elements were, because I know we're talking about a thriller. I know that we're talking about sort of spy story type, as well as for mature readers and some of the kind of edginess that comes with that area as well. So curious about how all of that came to be.
You want to start?
Yeah, I'll say it's tricky. Yeah, no, I think the way we always like part jokingly, but I mean it's not untrue, is we always say it
True,
started
yeah.
with Wonder Woman because I saw a piece of fan art for Dr. Poison from the movie that
Hmm.
Skylar had done, and she had said something to the effect of, "I wish they'd done more with this character," and I agreed, and we sort of been like, what would we do with that character? Was sort of the starting point, and so as far as it being an adult, mature story, I mean, we were starting from a place where we knew we wanted to write about an assassin who worked with poisons.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I think, starting off developmentally, we were just going as wild as possible because I think she was a lot crazier and a lot more
Yeah.
deranged to start. And we were just sort of throwing ideas. But I think that was important for the sense of getting comfortable with each other. But because in terms of adult themes, sexual themes, you have to have a lot of trust in your partner
Hmm.
because you want to make sure that you're discussing things in a mature way, obviously, but also a respectful way, and that you're always um, making sure nobody's uncomfortable. And we've been able to find that comfort, especially with there's a lot of script notes that we'll probably talk about publicly when we get to those parts of the story where
Sure,
we're like,
sure.
well, let's do this. That's kind of messed up.
Yeah. A lot of like, is this too deranged? Like,
And in service of the character, it sounds like.
Yes,
true.
absolutely.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think our goal as we developed is, yeah, we grew more attached to the characters. Um, but it also just became the thing you hope that a story is going to do, where they take on a life of their own and you start to get a better sense of who they are. And just because it is a spy story, it's very, it's geopolitically minded. And so I think that's been one of the most interesting things about it for me is just the sense of like, I was already engaged, but particularly over the past few years and the way things have gone in the world and in our nation, it's impossible not to always be thinking about that. And it moves so quickly in real time. That's always one of my worries is that is keeping it relevant because when doing it on Kickstarter the way we're doing it, it's going to take a while
Hmm.
if we
Yeah.
keep moving forward. So that's something we're always also talking about is just like what's this story's place, what's the conversation it's having. But really, the ultimate focus is on that relationship. When we were at IDW before they dropped the book, one of the points we kept hammering home is it's like the spy stuff matters, but we're not as interested in the like inner workings as we are the specific relationship between the two characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The backdrop. Like, and as Jordan said, we are really, we have stuff to say, about the world within the comic that is sort of a somewhat of a mirror to the world that we're living in as well. And so, there is a more going on than just the romance, but that is very much the heart of the story.
Yeah, I appreciate that as someone who sometimes reads spy fiction, and it almost feels like you could change out any character because the focus is so much on like the geopolitical or some specific
Right.
machination that you don't really get the involvement with the characters as much. So I appreciate that balance that you're talking about bringing to it.
Yeah, and I feel like Jordan and I are both kind of united in that the emotional element is very important for both of us in the storytelling aspect. Like we want you to connect with these characters, and I think both of us, like, they're our babies, so we love them as awful as they can be, and we hope that other people will as well. But they're flawed characters, and we hope that you'll get attached to their flaws as much as their good parts.
Yeah, it is. I think we're both very character forward. We let that dictate the plot as opposed to the other way around. And I always like to bring it up. I was thinking about it recently in terms of character stuff because a movie I saw like over a decade ago was Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy,
Hmm.
which I've never read the book, so I don't want to judge it based on that. But I remember watching the movie, and it is very intricacies of government focused. And I remember a thing
Mhm.
in that movie that was so frustrating to me as a character focused person was like the reveal of like who the bad guy was. It was like, okay, it's one of the four generic old white dudes who run the place, and I don't really care
Right.
which of them it is. And that's not really the point of that story, retrospect. Like I revisited that movie. That's not the point. But that is sort of the storyteller I am, where I'm like, I do want to care what's happening to the characters as
For
individuals.
sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, true, true. So you mentioned sort of the Dr. Poison angle and wanting to do more with a character like that, which I totally agree. She was just sort of in that film briefly, and then it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
there was a lot of potential for her that I just felt like we never really got. So
yeah. Any other sort of references or sort of tagline or information for readers so that they can know a little bit of what to expect from the book without giving
I think
anything too much away, obviously.
for sure. Yeah, I think that some of the comparative media we've talked about has been like Killing Eve, Lady Killer from Dark Horse, Joel Jones, and Velvet is also another one where we it's very much there's spy games and intrigue, and hopefully it's a little fun, but also very character forward, and you kind of wanting to get invested in these characters who are in precarious situations, so they're hopefully invested not just from the emotional element but also from the threats that are coming in around them.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and I'll add, and I actually messaged Skylar about this after seeing it this weekend, is if
Oh
you
yeah,
heard
yeah,
a hot take edition. I saw
Hot
Lovelight
take.
Bleeding over the weekend, and I was like, yeah, this is very much in our wheelhouse of messed up people in a very messed up romance, where at the end you're not sure if they deserve the ending they get, but you're like, good for them.
Nice, nice, nice. Love the hot take as well.
yeah. So fans of Love Lies Bleeding or Sins Are Scarlet,
There you go.
check us out.
Well, I think I have one more official question on my list, but you're welcome to add anything else about the book, the collaboration that you'd like, of course. That final question from my end is, what has your creative attention at the moment, which I'm guessing would be a Kickstarter campaign, and where can readers learn a little bit more about the project and support?
For my end, yeah, the campaign. I'm sure you've heard this before if you've talked to other creators, but it is a full-time job. There's a lot of focus
Mhm.
that goes into setting it up. We've been really blessed on this one that it has stayed pretty consistent in terms of growth. So we haven't had like explosive days like out of the gate, but I mean we've had consistent growth every day. So I have like we're doing things to promote it and talk about it, but we're really fortunate with how well it's doing. So beyond that, I'm always working. I'm working on new pitches, and a few licensed products. I have a coloring adventure, a choose your own path adventure coloring book,
Nice,
based
nice.
on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands that'll be coming out later this year. And then my YA fantasy series, Cooking with Monsters, the second volume of that is out later this year from IDW as well. And then beyond that, it's a lot of stuff that is either early stages of development or will hopefully be announced soon. Publishers just like to let you know when they let the public know sometimes, so you're always just waiting. But that is my creative end currently.
Yep. Pretty much the same for me. The Kickstarter's been the main focus for me. Honestly, I feel like it's been the main focus for me for a very long time. But more specifically within this year and last year, it's been the big focus for me. And I'm currently working on an image thing that hasn't been announced yet. So I'll do a little vague speak about that. But hopefully very exciting. I think it will be announced later this year, either late spring, early summer. Fingers crossed. Again, Jordan said that sometimes you don't know exactly when stuff's going to get announced. But that's the next thing that I've got kind of on the docket, as well as some small short things. I've got a short that I'll be doing with Dave Cook for Killtopia. That's going to be another Kickstarter launching later this year, I believe toward the end of this month, the beginning of April. And then I've also got a small thing with Killing Blood, or Drawing Blood, excuse me, through IDW with David Abalone and Ben Bishop. And so some small things peppered throughout, one bigger thing for the summer, and then this Kickstarter. So that's been the big one for both of us, I think, for a while now.
Yeah, and overall, if our hope, and currently it feels like we'll be there. Our overall goal with this campaign was both to launch the first issue and to be in a position where we can just start working on the next one. And with where we're at right now, and with about a week plus left, it's feeling like we're going to be able to do that and keep things rolling. I mean, every campaign's going to be another like tension point, but it's
Mm,
looking good that that'll also be our fall is working on more of this.
wonderful, wonderful. Well,
Yeah,
you're
we're
both.
hoping to keep. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can you say that one more time? I'll edit myself out. I kind of jumped in there.
For sure. Yeah. I was just saying we're hoping to keep the momentum so that we can just keep rolling into the next campaign, and hopefully folks won't have to wait too long between books.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you're both busy people. I appreciate your time very much. I appreciate your work and your collaboration, and glad to share about the books anytime. Anything else that you'd like to add? I'll add the Kickstarter link, of course, but any social media spaces, websites, or anything like that that you'd like to mention before we close.
I'm still on Twitter, at Indigo Master, ENDIGOMASTER. I'm on Blue Sky. I don't use it. I feel like I should. I don't. It doesn't get the traction. I'm always surprised by that. But I'm there, and I'm also on Instagram flailingly, under Jordan Alsaqa.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter as well. Sky Patridge. It's SkyyePatridge. Actually, Sky Patridge everywhere. If there's a social media, other than Mastodon, I think I have it, and it's Sky Patridge. I'm on Tumblr and Blue Sky and all those places.
Well, again, thank you both, and glad to share about the work, and I greatly appreciate your time.
Oh,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.